Okay, so continuing on. Oh, ancient Greek, I thought we did that part. Let me go back. All right. Okay, yeah. Oops. Here we go. Mycenaean culture. This is the city centered in the city of Mycenae on Greek mainland. They built elaborate tombs, so many of the objects are preserved. They were expert goldsmiths and they also did relief sculpture. All right, ancient Greece and ancient Greek art from 660 to 475 BCE, sculptures in limestone and marble. The frontal pose was like the Egyptians, but now it's going to become more dynamic and realistic. And they had temples with Ionic and Doric columns. And you're going to have to know the difference between Ionic and Doric, and there's a little picture later, so don't worry. And they also have vase paintings with black silhouettes or a Corinthian style with figures set against floral or ornamental backgrounds. Athenian is just black figures. Now, the best known Greek art from Athens, we have temples built with Doric columns. It's an early classical focused on simplicity of form, or it would have a scene or figure in the moment right in the moment of or right before a moment of importance. Sculptural technique improves with contrapposto. This is with a figure posed with weight shifted to one leg to show a natural pose. Okay. In the Middle Classical 448 to 400 BCE, we have advances in architecture. The Parthenon, which is restored in 447 BC after being destroyed by the Persians. Oh, those Persians. And it's one of the most admired pieces of all time. The columns are a principal feature of Western architecture for more than 2,000 years, so hugely influenced by what the Greeks did. So here we have the Parthenon, Doric columns. Okay. The late classical period, which is 400 to 323 BCE, architecture declines as Athens was destroyed. Temples still use Doric columns, but they're also starting to use more decorative Corinthian columns, and they become more popular. Notable works from this time are the Venus de Milo and the Laocoon group, which are designed to present the ideal beauty. They have this idea of what beauty should represent. All right, so here are the columns. Doric, you see it's very simple, nothing on the bottom, and really very simple, and this is kind of very plain. Ionic, you're going to have something on the bottom, and it becomes a little more decorative up here. Okay, so Doric is going to be simplest. Ionic adds a little to the top, and then Corinthian just is decorative both sides. So if you think about it, D-I-C, yeah, I know. Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, and it goes from simplistic to most decorative. Venus de Milo, I don't know why it didn't finish, but this is the Venus de Milo, and this is what they meant by the contrapposto poise. She has weight shifted more to one leg than the other. And Laocoon group, you can just see how they are in a moment of something of importance. All right, Etruscan art, this is Italian, 1st century BCE, largely known from tomb decoration. They had no buildings left because they're made of brick and wood, so perishables. Ceramic models, however, depicted temples that they had made with tiled roofs, and they were supported again by columns. And they had sarcophagus lids. These are the lids that go on top of the coffin or tomb, and they were made of bronzed clay. The only paintings found were on the walls and tombs. They had bright, flat colors, and they had people playing music and dancing. Usually these were things that were done in funeral rites. So here we have dancers, and again on a tomb, and yes, they are dancing, and these would be things that would be done at a funeral. Etruscan art. Roman art. Romans were all about conquest and empire building. First, they were influenced by the Etruscans, then the Greeks. They had pioneering advancements in architecture and engineering. That's what they were good at, architecture and engineering. The discovery of modern concrete helps with their engineering. They were able to make huge domed buildings and a curved arch used in bridges and aqueducts. They were able to bring and pipe in lots and lots of water. And of course, when you start having these things, it enables your cities to grow. And paved road systems helped with communication, and some of their roads are still in existence today. Okay, here's the Colosseum, still in existence, and it's just so odd to see something made in the year 72, and here's a modern street and cars parked there, but you can go see it. And the Pantheon, and again, because of their engineering advances, they could have these huge domes. Numerous sculptures. They have arches with relief sculpture with Roman emperors or Roman military victories. Tombs with narrative subject matter telling the story of a person's life. Or statues commemorating great men or nobles in public. And again, the figures are now going to be idealized, not really necessarily showing all the warts and moles a person had. And the Romans influenced the art of Middle Ages and Renaissance. Byzantine and medieval art. Byzantine art, mainly known for their mosaics, and you notice when you take little pieces of tile and you put it all together to create a picture. And I think the little tiles pieces themselves are called tesserae. It's largely Christian in content. And the Church of Ravenna has great mosaics. So this is a huge church. Just look at the size and scope of this. So doing a mosaic on a curved dome, just impressive. And notice still how these colors still exist. Just impressive. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's the Hagia Sophia, but it's in Constantinople, and it is one of the greatest architectural achievements. Due to upheaval, most of the art was preserved in churches. So that's why churches exist, and that's why they would only want to have art in churches, because, you know, for the most part, it was hands off, don't touch the churches. Not always, but again, one of the greatest architectural achievements of all time. Now, most people were illiterate during this time period, and upper class had education. The international language was Latin, so that's why books were written in Latin. They were hand copied on vellum, each word by hand. Monks spent time, a massive amount of time, copying books, and they were so valuable that they were chained to the table where they were read. The books were works of art, still are. And this facilitated artistic ideas between Northern and Southern Europe, because people would come and read these books, see the art, and take these ideas to these different places. And here are some examples. The Book of Kells is a great example, and it's late 8th or early 9th century. It's a coronation gospel. And you can just see the amazing artwork put into here, and the color, and the fact that it's still so striking and exists today. Just imagine, doing all this by hand, how much time it took to do just one page. The medieval period, 375 to 1025. The nomadic German people are known for their metalwork. It's abstract, decorative, and geometric. You'll see jewelry or ornaments made of bronze, silver, or gold and covered with jewels. The Vikings in Scandinavia, so Vikings, we know seafaring culture. What is important? Many of their boats had sculptures carved on them, very artistic. And the Viking invasions led to a blending of artistic influence in Anglo-Saxon England and in Celtic Ireland. And this was called Hiberno-Saxon from 900 to 1500. And the architecture of churches, of course, is still the dominant form. So churches, every city or town had a church as the center. And some of these churches took a century, over 100 years to build. And of course, the earliest churches used a Roman arch. And so this is why this is called Romanesque, okay? So you're going to have buttresses out here to support it because this is going to be very heavy. And that weight is going to push on the walls, and the walls will want to go out. So the buttresses support it and keep the walls from buckling. Here we have Saint Sernin in Toulouse, France, one of the best examples. And it was built 1070 to 1120. It's made with a tunnel of arches, so it's going to be called a barrel vault. Well, it would look like just, kind of think a barrel, but instead of being rounded here, it will be flat. And then, of course, Gothic style. We think Gothic churches, especially Notre Dame or Notre Dame. And it starts in the first half of the 12th century, and it's popular into the 16th. It is known for the use of pointed arches, okay, see here, and ribbed vaults and flying buttresses. And doing this allows for larger windows with stained glass and higher ceilings. And I think if we go back here, I think we saw some, right here. These are going to be called flying buttresses, all right? And it's going to make the churches, the structures stronger. And now we have, again, with the stained glass, we can have more light coming into these churches. And again, here are the flying buttresses. So the Chartres Cathedral, which was originally built in 1145 and then rebuilt in 1194, is a classic example of Gothic church. Okay, the Chartres Cathedral. We have tall arches. See how tall those are? And brightly colored light directs attention heavenward. Since they're so tall, and you're going to have these huge stained glass windows, you'll see all these light, and you can't help but look upward. And here, this huge window here, all these pieces are stained glass. Now we get to some actual people. Giotto di Bondone, 1267 to 1336-37. He is Florentine, Florence, Italy. And this is when we're going to have the transition from Gothic art to the Renaissance. Now, Bondone is known best for his frescoes, and these are going to be paintings outside. He has a simple perspective, and he creates the illusion of creating a stage for his figures. And he gave his figures very powerful gestures and emotional expressions. This is different. For the first time, figures now have emotions and gestures. Before, they were very flat. So you see here how this looks like a stage. And we see, kind of see some emotion in the little figures. Very different from what had been used before. And the change in the economy also plays a key part in Renaissance. Paper money is used by the Medici family, and they were patrons of the artist, huge patrons. Greek and Roman art was already readily available in Italy. And before this time, artists weren't really esteemed highly because they worked with their hands. So you're a laborer. But in Renaissance, the artists are now recognized as intellectual figures, and now they're going to have a special place in society, setting them above. And this hadn't happened before. And here's an important event. It was a contest in Florence in 1400. A church needed doors for their baptistry. And the person who won was Lorenzo Ghiberti. And he was from 1381 to 1455. And the different little scenes on here, they depict the sacrifice of Isaac. Well, he did such a good job that he was asked to make a second set of doors, and it took him 25 years to make these doors. Each little panel represents a scene, and Michelangelo called these the Gates of Paradise. So remember, Ghiberti, Gates of Paradise. And we will end here.